G'day, it's Rotary again. Well, today we're going to be looking at pillar drills like this, or they're sometimes called bench drills or drill presses. Not drill presses, a little bit different. But basically these come in a bench top version like this, or a full length column which goes down to the floor, freestanding unit. They both do the same sort of thing. I like these, the bench ones, because you can store stuff under them. And you know, how many times you're going to be needing the full length of a full columned drill press? Pretty unlikely. Yeah, you could, but I've never actually had to do that. So, what to look for in a drill press? Well, I bought this one 30 years ago at least for 150 bucks. It's an industrial grade one. Got a 3/4 inch Jacob's chuck. Number 2 Morse spindle, nice big heavy quill, and it's got an 80 mil column, which is good and heavy, and it's got a rotating table, and of course the whole thing rotates as well, and of course the rack, so you can move your stuff up and down. Now, if you ever buy a drill press, I think you'd be crazy to buy one that hasn't got a rotating table. The main advantage, well, the big advantage, a huge advantage of using these is that if you've got a fixed table, you can't just leave the drill press bolted on there all the time, because you have to unbolt it, move it around to actually position the work under the drill. With a rotating one, it rotates through one arc, and then the arm rotates through the other arc, and those arcs intersect right below the drill. So what it means is you can bolt down your drill vise, and you can always position your work just by moving the base or the table. With a fixed one, you can't. You've got to unbolt the vise every time, and you often see people, you know, for that reason, drilling with the vise unsecured, which is really dangerous. I mean, you could easily, with big drills, you could easily lose a finger, and not at all recommended. Crazy. So if you're going to buy one, definitely get the modern design with the rotary table and a rack. And you know, some of them don't have a rack. You've got to then unbolt it and then hump the table up and down. I don't care who makes them and what brand they are. If they haven't got a rack and they haven't got a rotating table, I wouldn't touch them. Also, this one, you can pivot the base, which allows you to do angle drilling as well. Not something you do very often. I've probably only used it 3 times in 30 years. So that's it. Now, as far as looking at these things, how do you know if it's got a Morse taper? Well, in the quill you'll see there's a slot, and that's basically where you put this wedge in to knock out. You hit there with a hammer. Whoops, there she goes. And you can knock out your number 2 or whatever Morse with that wedge. They always get, you know, come with a wedge. You haven't got a wedge, well, make one up. They're easy to make. So I bought that second hand, like most of my stuff, but I did pay quite a bit for it. So what am I leading up to? Well, recently the brother-in-law was downtown, and he bought himself a cheap drill press, same design as this, but next size down. It's only got a 70 mil column, but it's still got a number 2 Morse taper in it. Not a bad little unit, low powered, but better than what he's got. And of course, it's got all the benefits of the rotating table and everything. On his current drill press, he's got a fixed table, and of course, yeah, he drills with the vise unsecured, and it gets pretty hairy, I tell you. So, okay, what did he pay for it? 35 bucks. 35 bucks. So we'll have a look at it. We'll just see what he got for 35 bucks. And once again, he got it off a Gumtree, which is like Craigslist. We'll have a look. Well, here it is. You can see what he got. It's a smaller unit, but it's pretty good. It's all there. Well, it's nearly all there. As you can see, the handles are missing. The 3 handles are missing off of the quill lever mount. I've seen this before. Often you see these things going cheap. You know, people move these things. Oh, let's take the quill handles out because, you know, they might get bent, and then they lose them and they never bloody come back and find them again. So they sell these things without the handles. Okay, you just got to make up some handles. And you think, well, you know, should I buy it? No handles? Well, it's an easy thing to make them up. And it actually could be a good thing in a way, because what it means is no handles means no work, means no use, means drill press has probably been sitting around for years doing absolutely nothing, and it's still got plenty of life in it. Also, when you look at these, always look in here, and that'll tell you a lot too about how much work it's done. If it's done a lot of work, you'll see that the inside of this will be black with rubber dust from the belts. Mine, if you look in mine, you'll see it's absolutely black in here, and the belts are all pretty much chewed up because that's what happens over time. But this one, not much dust, so not much work. So what's this one got? Speed-wise, 210 to 2580. What do you got there? 12 speed. That's not bad, it's the same as mine. Some of these are 16 speed, some are 12, some are less. Number of speeds really is pretty irrelevant. I mean, as long as you've got enough speeds to vary around, you know, having 25 or 30 speeds or 100 speeds is bullshit. I mean, all you want is 3 or 4 speeds to play with, and you'll probably set it at 1 speed and leave it at that if you're working on metal work anyway most of the time. But it would work, you crank up the speed, but that's the only reason. So all these speeds, don't get hung up on that. That's plenty. So, okay, she looks a little bit rough, but basically it's a pretty good unit. So looking at this, what else do we know about this? Well, put a mirror under the chuck jaws and look up. Don't go knocking it out unless you have to, otherwise you just disturb it. And sometimes these can get a bit loose. Yeah, put a mirror under here, look up at the chuck jaws and see if they're worn. In this case it's a Jacobs 30mm chuck, a quality chuck. Jaws are like brand new on this. Why the jaws like brand new? Because, well, not only are the handles missing, but the chuck key's missing as well. That's gone walkabout. But luckily, Rob just happens to have one in his spare parts which will fit, so I'll donate that to the brother-in-law. So there's a perfectly good Jacobs chuck key that will fit it. And all I got to do now is just make up the handles for it. When you look at these, also always check the quill to make sure there's no side to side. That one's pretty good. They all have a little bit, but that one's not bad. Pretty good. And sometimes you can adjust it out and sometimes you can't. I haven't had a close look at this yet. But basically, as you can see, it's a Morse taper and it looks like a number 2, so yeah, not bad. Also looking at this, another sign of how much work they've done is how bloody crater marked it is in the table. If there's lots of drill holes in the tabletop, you know that it's been, you know, put through the mill, done a lot of work, and probably some butcher's been using it because there shouldn't be drill holes in the tabletop anyway. But so yeah, basically a good little unit. So what are we going to do to it? Well, the only thing left to do now, as I said, is make up some handles, so we will. Okay, so what are we going to do for handles? Well, there's handles and handles, and basically this is the original stuff. They always come with knobs on them. But I mean, you could have straight bar with a tubular type end on them. It's a lot more mucking around. And at the end of the day, whether they've got knobs or whether they're just round, doesn't really matter as long as it's not going to hurt your hand. Also, when you make up handles, you never ever want to go knurling them, because nothing worse than having to use tools where you've got knurled grips on them. I mean, knurl's okay if you want to turn something, but when you're holding stuff, the pressure, the heavy knurling particularly, can really play havoc with your hands. So you want them just plain and smooth, and that way, you know, you're not going to hurt your hands in long-term use. So as this is the brother-in-law's and I've got heaps of work to do of my own, I'm going to make this as quick and as dirty as possible. He won't mind because he's a farmer, and as long as it works, that's all he cares about, and it will be quite okay. So I'll show you what we're going to do, and it won't cost a cracker, like everything I do. Alright, so what are we going to make these handles out of? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make them out of some rod, some round bar, and of course round bar does come free if you know where to look. And once again, it's coming out of a treadmill. What have we got here? We've got the roller out of one of the rollers out of a treadmill, and what's down the middle of it? Nice piece of good handy sized diameter steel round stock. So you've got a hole in each end for where the adjusters went. So we're going to use one of those. I've got probably 4 or 5 of these laying around. I'll pick up treadmills when I see them if I get a bit low on round stock. So yeah, you know, once again, there's some good stuff in treadmills. You go and buy a piece of round stock like that, you know, and it's all good quality. It's not crap. So okay, we'll get out some old round stock that's already out of one of these axles I've pulled out, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so how do we stop the brother-in-law having to spend any money? I mean, he's like me. In fact, he's worse than me. He's a bigger screw than I am, which is really saying something. And so what we're going to use is we're going to use a 20mm diameter shaft out of another roller that I've taken out. These are all made of beautiful steel. I mean, you know, you go and buy that, it's a good hunk of steel. I don't know what it would cost, but if you can get it for nothing, all the better. And even on treadmills, the rollers, one roller will be rubber coated on a lot of them, and you can make up linishes out of them. You know, the bearing ends knock out and you can just shorten them and make up small rollers, and you can do all sorts with this stuff. I mean, it's, you know, it's good gear. So, as I said numerous times, there's plenty of good stuff in treadmills if you think about it. So, what have I done? I've cut this into 3 equal length pieces. I've machined a 3/8 imperial thread on the end of the shaft with my trusty old 3/8 die. It's a bit rusty, I must give that a clean one day. Oh well. Anyway, that's what happens. You've got too many tools, you never get time to look after them. Alright, and what I've also done is I've machined a step in the end of it so that when it screws in to the into the hub, the handle mount, that will give you clearance for the depth adjuster. There's a knob and a collar that spins around on the thing, and you set the depth of the drill. And of course, it won't clear without a little step, because normally they just have a smaller diameter shaft going the full length up to a handle. So this is going to be a lot more heavy duty, be nice to grip, no problem, and it'll do a good job. I won't be knurling, as I said, and also the holes in the end, which are the actual adjuster holes, are actually quite handy, because when you put these in, you have to have a way to tighten them. So basically you just put your screwdriver through and tighten them up like that. Piece of cake. Well, they look alright. So I'll actually drill another hole in the one piece that doesn't have a hole. So they'll all have a hole in the end. I might even drill a little marker out so they all look the same. That's just where the circlip goes that holds the shaft in the tube. So there you go. Simple job. Shouldn't take more than half an hour to knock it up. And once the handles are in, you'll never bend those babies, I'll tell you. And they'll still be quite nice to use. They'll feel good. And yeah, cheap, quick, dirty job. Okay, we'll get on with it. machine up, so now I've just got to drill a hole in this, tap a couple of threads. I don't know if I'll worry about that circlip ring, and the job's done. All done, that's good enough for now. So now just screw them in and see how she looks. So the original black coating is marked, so it can't do much about that, it's just too bad. But when they're in, as long as it works, that'll be pretty good, I think. See how she goes. Not real bad, so that'll be pretty good on the hands. Excellento. Let's see how she goes. Put a bit of oil on there, doesn't spray everywhere. And fire the old drill up. Bad. That's good to use. Get a good grip on that. Right. Job complete. And it didn't cost a cracker. The old bro will be as happy as Larry. He can drill holes to his heart's content. And he even gets a free chuck key. What sort of a deal could be better than that, eh? Okay guys, that's it from me. Mission complete. We'll see you next time. Cheers.